But David Goggins, and if you have never read his book or listened to him speak, and yes, he curses a lot, he is one of the most, and maybe you're right, maybe his vocabulary doesn't represent what you think somebody's vocabulary should have. But I'll tell you, besides his vocabulary, he's one of the most inspiring people you'll ever read about. And the things that he is capable of, and the things that he's pushed his mind and his body to do. You know, one thing that's super important is, and you guys want to talk about, you know, being able to see through and listen to the motivational, and some of this stuff will hit home. You know, maybe you have to see past that F-bomb as well. Is that, and listen to the message, and to know who's saying it. There's some people in there, of course, but I'm telling you, man, David Goggins has literally trained his mind to be stronger than his body can even keep up to. So I would try and listen to the lesson in there, or try and understand those people, rather than, you know, you talk about, you're saying that their vocabulary isn't maybe their vocabulary isn't to where it needs to be, but their messaging and who they are is. And that we shouldn't let that limit the message that you can take from it. So, and yes, we'll get distracted by that, and some people don't like to hear it that much, and I don't either. But there's some very inspirational people in that video, and David Goggins is one of them. And if you haven't, you know, him going through Navy SEALs training with broken legs, and it's insane what he's pushed his body to do, and how strong his mind is, because that's what you have to have here. You know, to be able to trade long term, you have to have that mindset that can't be broken. And that's something that he has. And so try and see past that as well. And, you know, make sure my videos are a little more on the less aggressive language side here moving forward as well. Okay? So how does that relate to greed? Now, we'll talk a little bit about the mindset, and, you know, you versus you, and really have a conversation about, in order to become a really, really good trader here, is that you need to be stronger than the person you are. And I'm going to tell you, trading is going to open up things about you that you didn't even know existed. Right? It's going to open up things about you that you didn't even know how to deal with emotionally. Right? So, and just remember, you know, that language also comes from some passion from these people, and that's how they might know how to explain it, or how to express themselves, because maybe their vocabulary isn't developed enough. And that's okay, because we want to hear about their story or lesson. So let's talk about it being you versus you, which is what we're talking about when we talk about, you know, the fear and the greed and those types of things. You know, when I first started here, with trading, you know, I was shooting for 10% a day, literally. And you can, anybody who had been around with me long enough knows that we got it lots of days. But we also, you know, had to ride these crazy trades out, and hedging and all these other things. But we did get those percentages. And then give them all back in a day. And that's really where greed comes from. Right? The thought that we know we can go and get 5% a day, we can keep going and get this and get that. I did it yesterday, I could do it today. One thing you need to understand here is that it's not about how much money you can make. And you can quote me on this. It's not about how much money you can make in a day, and how much money you can make out of this market, or how much money you might take from this market. It's truly about how much money you can keep. Because we can go and get these big giant percentages and crank our risk up and our leverage and all these things. Right? So it's not about how much we can make every single day. It's about how much we can keep from the market. Because every time you go back to the market wants to get your money back. It wants to get that money you might have won yesterday, or it wants to get that money that you think you're up from the week. And so that's about controlling our greed. And you see what happens here is that in that short-term mindset, when we have a little bit of a greedy mindset, that short-term mindset, looking at what we did today, okay, one of what we did today and what we might do tomorrow. And those types of things need to be overshadowed by what we can do in a year. Because the problem is when you, right? The problem is when you go and shoot for all those, you're going to give it back. It's inevitable because the market needs to take some of that money back. We are going to take losses along the way. And I'll tell you, controlling that impulse and controlling that greed to feel like you need to be in every move, to feel like you need to get a certain amount of money today, trading, having necessity attached to trading is a hard place to be. And that's that greedy mindset, right? That mind over like, hey, we can do this, we can do that. I don't want to take losses. That type of mindset is going to get you in trouble in the market. That's when you do like, and this is really funny. It's a really funny, when you start to kind of coach some people personally, and obviously there's a big group of us that I coach. But when you start to coach people personally, it's funny how it's almost always the same story. And it's not really about controlling our wins, controlling what we take from the market, but it's controlling those moments where we lose, right? And that greed's going to put us into that position a lot more often, right? Trying to get back in the market, the FOMO of it moving, and everybody else is getting money, I got to get in there too. And I'll tell you, it's really about when you start to talk to people about what they're maybe going on with their trading or their goals, is that it's really about the loss day. And so our greed, our mind saying we've got to get to this percentage and I got to do this. Like you take a loss, you're like, I got to get back in, I got to make it back, right? I got to get that back, I got to get that back. How many people have that mindset, right? Well, I'm down this, I got to go push, I got to get it back, right? That mindset makes your losses bigger, right? So there's a part in there where you have to have, you have to have a limit there too. And it's almost, 90% of the people I have that conversation with is that they'll just let one day get away from them. And then you go back and you take a look and, they're like 85% trader in the wins. And then they have one day where they give it all back. And it's really about managing that one day. And the most important piece of managing that one day is to knowing when to stop. It's knowing when, hey, the market's got enough for me today. I'm going to protect the rest I have, right? Come back tomorrow in a better position. Come back in an hour in a better spot. How many people take a loss and instantly jam the other direction and then instantly jam the other direction and it just goes loss, right? So we need to manage those moments and know that greed doesn't serve you. Greedy traders always lose in the end. Always. And it's really about what we can do long term. Okay? Long term. That means protecting the one day, just the one day, instead of having a 10% loss or a 15% loss or going crazy, we have a 2% loss. And our account still continuously moves forward. Right? Because we have a maximum loss day and we just don't allow the market to take our money, right? Take our money back. Okay, so how do we deal with that mindset? What are things we can do to deal with that mindset? So first things first is we need to know that we're here long term. Okay, this will be a full psychology class. It'll be a full psychology class. It'll be our last one that's based just on long term. And that long term mindset, right, plays in our favor, right? And the second thing is that you don't have to have any necessity in this market. Now, the problem is a lot of people that come here to trade and come here to learn, are trading because we're in a financial position, right? We're here to come to trade, to learn, to know we can make money and know that we can change our family's life and all those things, right? That's why we come here to learn to trade. So there is a little bit of necessity around the goal and the process of trading, because most people who come here are looking for that. But I'm going to tell you that if you can do 1 to 2% a day for a year, it doesn't matter the size of your account. Compound interest needs one thing, okay? And it's not a necessity and it's not 5% a day. It just needs time. All compound interest needs is time. So get patient, okay? Doesn't matter what you do today. Doesn't matter what you do tomorrow. It matters what you can do, okay? What you can do in the month or what you can do in a year, right? Maybe you only do 10% your first year, but that's still better than what the bank's doing. And we have this mindset, some people come to me and they're like, oh, I did 2.5% today. I'm not quite at my 3. I got to jump in there. And it's like 2.5% today. It's just, okay, it's something we really need to understand that that's not necessary. And so there's a moment in a trader's journey when you're going to realize that you're just trading. You're just following the rules and you're moving forward. And that's it. That's all we do every day. That's how long-term trading works. That's it. Okay? So I want you guys to get focused. Okay? I want you guys to truly not worry about the dollar figure every day. And if you're trading a small account, I want you to focus on percentages. And I know this is hard, but if you can't get comfortable with 1 to 2% in a small account, you're not going to do it when your account gets bigger either. Okay, so you have to just get patient. Know that your account's moving forward. It might start as $10 a day. That's where it might start. It might start as $10 a day. But if you can stay at $10 a day, a month later, it's $20 a day. And then a month later, it's $30 a day. And then 6 months later, it's $50 to $100 a day. And now things really start to change. You have to find that patience to allow your accounts to do what it needs to do. Okay? And it doesn't come through greed. It's one of those human emotions that doesn't serve us. One of those human thoughts, right? Humans want more and more and more. It's one of those things that doesn't serve us here. That's why I put that video on to talk about you versus you. Because that's truly an internal thing that you have to shift if you want to be a trader. You know how many stories I have? How many stories I have? I've taken $300 to $3,000 in the last 3 weeks, right? You know how many of those stories I have? And then I don't hear from them. Why is that? And when I reach out, they're like, oh, I needed to take a break. Why? 100 times the account. Why do you need to take a break? Because that mindset, they gave it all back. They gave it all back because that greed and that need to have that money and that financial push is what is going to push you to giving it all back to the market. And the market wants that from you. So imagine you're in this fight, right? You're in this fight with this market, or say it's a person or anything, right? The market needs you to feel that way. In the battle with the market, it needs you to feel that way because it doesn't want you to just take some money out of the account or take some money out of the market and then not come back. Because every time you come back, it's their opportunity to take that money back. So just remember, and this is, you can talk about gamblers or whatever. It's not about what you can make. It's what we can keep. Because if you can't keep any of it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter you made $1,000 today if you go give it back tomorrow. It doesn't make any difference. Okay? So that's what you need to focus on. So write down some of the things you do, some of the impulses, that greed, FOMO impulse that pushes you to do things. Okay? Okay? We write those down. Write down your impulses. Write down the things you do that you're like, that doesn't serve me. And take out some of those bad habits that might affect your move in the market. And if that's, if it's a loss day and you're like, man, you know what? My loss days, I'm giving back 10, 15, 20%. Let's just max my loss day at 5%. Let's just do that for this month and see if my account still moves forward. Okay? All right. Let's get on some charts here for the next 15, 20 minutes or so. Heyo. Where's my face at? There it is. There's that face. All right. Let us talk about. Let's go see. No, we can't. I can't share the screen, but oops. Let me just check news here while you guys are looking at Kill Shot. News is clear. Now we get some new home sales. Orange later on. We got some news tomorrow at 8. Okay. Just gonna. News on TradingView. Nice. But it's coming up on GFU here soon. Not a maximum number of trades, but definitely a maximum percentage. If I get over 1% a day, I'm good. I know that might seem crazy to anybody who has a small account, but if I can crank out 1%, I'm good. 1% a day, and if you can manage to do that all month, that's a 20%. 20% gain. So, right? But just put your percentages in there, like what you're looking to do, right? Well, even 3%. And if your maximum win day is 3%, your maximum loss day can't be more than that, right? Like you can't. If your maximum win day is 3%, your maximum loss needs to be 3% as well. You can't go give back 3, 4, 5 days or give back a week of profits, right? And that might be hard. And if that's hard, if it's like, well, 3% will be one trade, right? If that's the case, then you have to lower your lot size because you need to have opportunities to get into this market and have multiple positions, right? So if it's, give your lot size, if you take a 30 pip loss and it's 3%, then you need to lower your lot because that's one loss, right? That's good, okay. Depending on what the percentages is, of course. Okay. So no news today. And this has a nice fill of displacement, right? We had this big old push in Thursday of news, cranked another all-time high, came all the way back, and now we're sitting in this downtrend after breaking through this 238, right? Friday, and settling down here now. Okay. No news here this morning, right? I'm just going to take a quick shift over to DXY. DXY is starting to make its move downwards here, okay, since last night. And you can see it push all the way back up, and now it's coming back down to this space. So we need to be careful. If we're going to be, I know all the trend is saying down, right? You can see this thing is starting to hold space, and DXY is dropping. So, right? Yep. Okay, so it is a downtrend. I would be a little bit careful here to see what's going to happen as DXY has been constantly moving downwards. So we'll probably see one of those flashes up at open, and then this thing start to move its way back down again. Okay, so the one thing we want to, the one thing we want to see here is we want to see this thing push back above and maybe make a run back up to this 238. And if we can see a shift above this 238, if this thing gets back above this 238 on the 15, then we'll probably see a nice shift back up. But you can see it's been on a fairly long, fairly good downtrend here, right? We're talking, what are we looking at here? 500 pips or so. Okay, there might be a little bit of a pushback. The DXY is dropping, so let's see if this thing wants to shift or if it wants to stay on trend. So we want to see this 238. So I'd like to see it get back above this 238. There'll be a little zone here above it that it might need to break to push back up into this space because I'm still looking at that long-term daily uptrend. Right, and as you can see, We had that big push on Thursday. It came and engulfed that daily. And I think we might still have a little bit more of a reset here, a couple hundred pips before this wants to continue to push back up. All right, we can see there's a nice level right here. There's a nice level right here, about 296. All right, so about another 150 pips, 160 pips to the top of this level, and then we'll see if that wants to be the bounce to head back up. Okay, but we are on a downtrend, so let's shift over to the 1. Whoa, that's just a little bit of a 6 o'clock impulse candle, huh? 6 o'clock hit, decided in 1 minute it wanted to jump up 50 pips, pulled all the way back below this EMA, and you can see that was on a red candle, broke back above this 238, and we could have grabbed 15, 20 out of that, but it's still holding this zone. Structure just started to shift here, right? A little flash above that zone, a little flash above that one. So I would be a little bit patient here. I don't really generally like on a Monday to get into this until after open comes, just because the volume will come fairly quickly. But I do think we could see this area hold and this start to push back up. It does need to pull in some more volume, and you know, DXY is down, it's heading downwards. So okay, let's be patient. Nice little pull back to this 238 with potential of this pushing back up. Okay. I'm going to be patient here and see if this wants to hold this space, and maybe there's an opportunity for it to break back above. You can see in this 1 minute, it's really struggling with any sort of structure breaks, right? You can see it came down here. It actually started to break some structure, but then reset at that 238, broke above it, reset again, push back up, reset again. So it is building on this 1 minute, building a little bit of upward structure, but okay, we can see it break above that. Yeah, so we're going to be patient here. I'm going to wait here about 45 minutes till open comes. I'm sure this is going to want to push up at open. You can see this is starting to drop here a little bit. We might get that nice flash above open and see if it wants to maybe get back up here and break this. Okay, yeah, we're going to be patient. I want to see it get back way up here. You can see that that is 100 pips away, but if we can get back above that and head back up, we'll be in a good spot. Okay. So let's see if we can get this thing back above this here. I do want to see maybe there is some potential to break back above this level here and see if we can push back above. Okay. All right. Okay. There is potential this just pulled back to this 238 again, or this might want to push back up, but there is going to be a bunch of volatility leading into open. So let's see a little magic arrow on here. It's not going to have a ton of, you can see, we want to see this thing come back up here. Okay. Push above here, pull back to this, hold that level, and then we can see if that wants to push back up. Little magic arrow back to the top of that level. There's a few pips in there. Okay, but you want to make sure you get this pullback first because there's still some sell volume in here. So make sure you let it break above and then let it pull back, then see if there's an entry. Okay. Now I'll probably be looking for something more like that after open, but we'll see. That arrow didn't look very good, does it? Wasn't a very good magic arrow over there. All right, the 238 is much closer on the 15 here. Love to see this thing break back above this on the 15 minute. Okay. All right, so same thing here. Looking for this to push back now. We can see that there's still heavy downtrend, so we want to see this get back above here. And there's a support area here, now turned into a resistance that we need to see this break above as well. So everything's down. You can see that we need this to break. Fill that space. So POC is going to be in the way, but look how far away it is. So there might be an opportunity if this breaks above. I would obviously like to see. Let's go see where it is in the 15 actually. Yeah, the same spot. Exactly the same spot. Same price and everything. So let's see if this thing can break above, and maybe we target this POC. As you can see, we're below it. That's not going to give us the best confirmations, but I think if we can break above that as well and see this thing push back up. So let's just do a little magic arrow. Buried counter, but if we get that break of that 238, okay, we'll break the 238, we'll pull back to it, and we can target that POC if it wants to do that. Okay, now this is counter, right? But this 238 is an early indication, which we're going to go over more this week, an early indication of a trend switch. Okay, we're going to look at gold, and then we'll call it a morning.